Open your mind.
Hello and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
Myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 26th of April 2015 and wow, the weather's gone up and down. Today especially we had hailstones and then we had the sun shining and then it was raining and then I don't know. Talk about all the seasons in one day.
Well, backtrack to this morning. We had a lot of chemtrails, a lot of spraying going on this morning. So, yeah, there was a nice clear sky this morning. Then it was covered in chemtrails. Then we had some black clouds. Then we had some hailstones. Yeah, it's mad.
It's gone mad.
Crazy.
It's gone mad. The weather's gone mad, but we know that.
Snow tomorrow, I believe.
Snow tomorrow. Snow and sleet tomorrow, apparently. That's what's predicted. Right. Our guest on tonight is James Gilliland. Now, James is no stranger to OYM. James has been on the show a few times and, as usual, has always great information, a brilliant guest to have on the show. We're going to be bringing James in a few minutes, and we're going to be going through the few bits and pieces with James because most of the things we're going to be talking about are going to be global issues, especially some that are affecting America. So we want James to bring James in and then run it by James and get his take on it as well. But before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Okay, communication channels, please, Mary.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thanks, Mary. 04692711212 is the magic phone number for the studio this evening and every evening. And if you're listening on the OYMradio.com and logged into the chat room, we'll say a big hi to all of you people in there. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Also a big hi to everyone on People's Internet Radio as well this evening. If you want to check us out on Facebook, you can log on to the website. That's OYMradio.com. You will see the link on the left-hand side also down the bottom of the screen for Facebook. Your anti-social media viewing pleasure, you can check us out there. We can also be found on the YouTube link, that's there as well. And for your listening pleasure on the Android device or the iPhone, you can just check out the link on the bottom there. That is the TuneIn radio link. We're also available on another stream that I cannot remember. It's Irish Radio or
.ie.
Irish, I got it right today. IrishRadio.ie. So we're also on there as well. For your listening pleasure, Alan.
Brilliant. Okay, now last week we had what seemed like a denial of service attack on the website because, as usual, they didn't want us to get the information out that we were talking about. So, just in case that happens again or there's any problems in future, remember we do stream on UnitedWeStrike.com and also we stream on peoplesinternetradio.com. So, should you have problems getting to the OYMradio.com website, you can actually hear the stream on them two other websites as well. And there is a chat room on the People's Internet Radio. You can jump in and join in on the chat with people there. Steve.
Yes, sorry, speaking of the chat rooms, we will be monitoring both of the chat rooms for questions this evening, and I want to extend a hand to the nice people on the People's Internet Radio chat room. They made our OYMers very welcome there last week when our own chat crashed because of that DOS attack that Alan just spoke of. So if there are any issues with the chat room, just pop over to People's Internet Radio. They're a friendly bunch of lads and lasses over there. Anyway, first thing on the list this evening, we mentioned this last week, we're going to mention it again. It's in relation to Dermot Murphy of the National Citizens Movement. Dermot is taking on Irish Water in the High Court, and Irish Water have put their own engineers' report in, and now Dermot needs to do the same. But it's going to cost €400. So if you can help Dermot with a couple of euros towards that, just to get the funds ready for the report, it will be of great interest to the Irish people, should he be able to stop Irish Water. So it'll be money well spent or donation well spent. If you can donate anything at all, please go to the donate button at the bottom of the OYM website and mention that it is for the Dermot Murphy Fund, and we will make sure Dermot gets that money. You can also make donations for that through the Hub Ireland as well.
Now, on behalf of the listeners of OYM had made a small donation to Dermot. So thanks to, not myself and Steve, but thanks to the people who donate to OYM, we've made a small donation over to Dermot there. So thanks for the people who donate. We passed it on. So thank you, and I hope Dermot gets the figure that he wants there. Now, we're going to bring our guest in because we have a few topics to talk about that are affecting the States and global issues, and we'd like to get James's take on this. So we're going to bring James in. Good evening, James. How are you?
Doing great. How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Again, James, thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on the show. You always have some great information and positive information as well, and it's great talking to you. For people who are new to the show, to OYM, and maybe haven't heard about you before and what you do you want to just give us a quick 5-minute bio so people know who you are?
Well, basically, I'm the founder of ECETI, which stands for Enlightened Contact with Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And we've actually had contact, extrememely well-documented contact here for 25 years. And, it's funny because I always hear people say, when they're going to disclose, when we're going to have contact, and things like that. And they go, NASA the same, we're going to have contact in 25 years. Well, they've been here. And NASA knows contact is going on here. Their people have been here and checked it out. So, we've had all kind of, we had a Danny Dyer special here. Robbie Williams came out, with Above Top Secret and did a special. I'm trying to think. Paranormal State came out here. Mm-hmm. All these people came out here, and the ships appeared when and where we said they would and put on the show. So it's been extremely well demonstrated that, there definitely is communication going on and contact happening. And the ships have demonstrated that, redundantly. So anyway, I've also an author of Reunion with Source and Becoming Gods and The Ultimate Soul Journey. I've been at this for 30 plus years, studying paranormal things. I've studied with Tibetan lamas and yogis and master teachers all over the world, getting their perspective on their paths to higher consciousness and energy. So I've just had so many different experiences. I can go on forever, but it's not really about me. It's about the information. So
exactly. Well, no, that's brilliant. I mean, you have had. We could take the show up with your experiences and what you've gone through, near-death experiences and stuff like that. So you are you're well aware of what's going on and what's happening, and you've kind of seen it done. I have the T-shirt.
Yeah. It's kind of, I always tell people, once you've experienced the source and, there's, everything else is just interesting, so it's like, it doesn't matter what's happening, you can see Bigfoot, you'll see a ship come down, you have beings appearing in front of you and things like that. After the near-death experience and hanging out with a source, it's like, that's pretty hard to top, so... sometimes we have to do that. We have to totally have an experience like that or transcend the fear of death before we can, greet these other experiences without fear and putting our patterns into the experience and actually truly understand the experience, because we're always seeing everything from our own reference points. And unfortunately, most people do have a lot of fear and a lot of religious programming and things like that. And so their reference points are going to determine the experience and, what they perceive is happening, in these events.
Totally. And a lot of people, well, I won't say a lot, but there's a good few people who still just see the physical world as just a physical world, and when you die, that's it, and that's their belief. But then, as you say, there's more to it than that. The topics we're going to talk on, we wanted to get you in early, James, because these topics really are affecting the States, but there's global issues as well. I'm sure there's a knock-on effect somewhere across the globe, and we're just going to throw them in there, and we're just going to throw it around between myself, Steve, and yourself, and just have a chat about it. That's really it. That's really just things that have come in during the week. Now, I'm in communication with Dr. Carol Rosen, and I normally have a chat with Carol every now and then, just on Skype text, and she sends over links, and she said, this might be interesting for you. And she just was talking about the whole von Braun thing again, and she just said, as a reminder, in the order that von Braun said, he said that would be Russia and the Cold War, then terrorists, and then it'd be rogue third world countries, rogue nations, and then nations of concern, and then the asteroids, and then the ET threat. Now, what I found out during the week is that obviously that's where we're going. There seems to be an awful lot of asteroids coming in. There was one a couple of weeks ago. There's another one this Friday, apparently, and the scaremongering is starting regarding the asteroids. And also the XFiles that are coming back. XFiles are coming back, and apparently They're trying to play the card that ETs are dangerous and are hostile and that we have to be on our guard. That's the mindset they're trying to get into people, because I reckon that's a build-up to Project Bluebeam. Steve, what's your take on that?
Well, you sent me over some information during the week, and I can't remember what the country was, but it was like a false flag attack. They were not false flag, but they were preparing, wasn't it? So one of these governments on exactly what they were going to do and how their systems could be infiltrated and how to tighten up on the security. So I mean, these games, if you like, they're in progress. So something is going to happen. I've been hearing as well, as you say, about the asteroids. I've been hearing a lot about the asteroids too, and they're saying, you know, they're in the atmosphere and they're bouncing off, but they're going to come in and, you know, some of them are going to hit the planet and all this carry on. I mean, if we're just going by that list as well that you read out, I mean, the last thing on that list is ET threat.
Yeah, and if you look at all the movies, James, what's your take on it?
Well, basically, they've been planning these things for a long time. I know people that, you know, they told me that they were going to go to war, you know, in Iraq way before that was even thought of. You know, it was like 3 or 4 years in advance, so it was already planned, you know, way before any of the 911 things or things like that. So, and I asked this guy, and he was in intelligence, you know, military intelligence, and he says, "Yeah, I'm going to Iraq." And I go, "What for?" And he goes, "There's going to be a war." And I said, "What are you talking about? Iraq? What the heck does Iraq have to do with us, you know?" And actually, it never did have anything to do with us, other than sitting on top of oil. You know, that's about it. Yeah. But you know, all these things have been planned out for some time, and there is a shadow government, you know, a world shadow government that's doing their thing, and trying to enact these things. And what's happening now, what I see is that people are waking up. You know, there's enough whistleblowers and other people are regaining their courage and integrity, and people, you know, even in the military, that are actually thwarting a lot of these events and saying, no, we're not going to go there. I mean, they tried to blow a nuke off in North Carolina, I believe it was, and that one got stopped by some people on the inside who got fired, actually, afterwards, some very top people. But, you know, they've had all these plans, you know, in the works for some time, you know, and they're really hell-bent on starting World War III. And that's something that people just have to just say enough, you know, don't even participate in that one, because they're doing all they can to instigate a war with Russia over there and bringing troops in where they shouldn't be. We have no business being over there at all, you know, and actually, you know, it's the shadow government that actually is generating that war and creating it, and the banksters. So, you know, it's like the military is waking up, and they realize they're the brute squad for the corporate elite, and it has nothing to do with, you know, God and country. It has everything to do with economics, and they're all starting to figure this out. And generals are coming forward and writing books and talking about this and saying this is all a sham. You know, it's like, I can't remember who wrote the book War is a Racket. You know, is it with Smedley, or I can't remember. Yeah, General Smedley, I think. I'm not sure, but. You know, all these guys are coming out and saying 911 was a sham. You know, it was an inside job, and so you're getting, you know, people of the highest caliber now coming forward and saying, look, you know, this is, we need to wake up fast and look at really who's running the show and what they're doing and where they're trying to take us. So I'm seeing all of these events that they have on the books are before they were pulling them off and seemed to be getting away with it, and now there's just a big, like a snowball effect. Like people are waking up fast, and they're getting surrounded by people, and there's whistleblowers coming out, and other people in positions that aren't going along with it. So their whole system, the cabal's whole system, is unraveling, right? And it's unraveling from within as well, because there's a lot of people just saying, I'm not going to participate anymore. I'm not going to play this game. And it's part of the awakening and healing process. So there's so much light and consciousness and energy coming into the planet right now, and so many different beings that are here that are adding their higher consciousness and energy, who operate under universal law, that are becoming part of our collective consciousness, that, you know, it's impossible for these guys to succeed. I mean, there's no way. They might have little mini you know, conquests happening or you know, little mini things happening, but in the big picture, they implode. they just implode in on themselves.
So they might win the battle, but they won't win the war.
Yeah, they'll have a few little. What it is, they're always going to push. They're going to push a false flag and things like that. Like this whole the bombings, the Boston bombings and things like that. I mean, that was so obvious what that was about. And and they have the guy handcuffed and naked, and next thing you know, the guy's full of bullets. I'm gonna come on. It shows him handcuffed, naked, and putting him in the car, and then you hear the guy, in the chase was riddled with bullets. I mean, come on. It's like let's close out the witness. We can't have this guy talk. About what really happened.
But there was a picture of a lady with her leg apparently blown off on a mobile phone. Funny enough.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a second. I mean, look, how many women do you know that could have a leg blown off and will still be on their phone, putting it on Facebook or something? Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Well, funny enough, we talk about, we've said it before on the show, the whole psychology, if you think of Independence Day, at the moment we're Irish and American and English and what have you, right? So like Independence Day, we stop being, because people are, as you say, James, the military men they're all waking up, everybody's waking up and seeing what's going on, the bankers' wars and the whole lot, and people are saying no more. So they say, right, okay, we need to have an external. We need to have somebody from outside the planet attacking the planet, so we all come together as human beings. The great Ronald Reagan quote in 1987.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's, the whole blue beam thing and the psychology involved in that is that we'll all become humans and we'll all fight together these nasty ETs. But guess what? We need your money because we need you to charge you more tax to build these machines to stop the nasty ETs coming down.
Yeah, well, those guys are already aligned with the nasty ETs, so it's like it's like the nasty ETs and the shadow government is saying, hey, we need your money so to save you from us. Yeah, and they've been doing that it's the old end game, It's like, what's that? Is it Hegelian program or whatever?
The Hegelian dialectic, problem reaction solution.
Yeah, dialectic. It's like create a problem, offer a solution, and then get paid well for the solution, and then create another problem and offer a solution, and then you've got everybody off track, and everybody's worried and in fear and survival, and they've got to keep everybody in fear and survival. You must be very, very scared. It's orange alert today. The terrorists are right around the corner. They could blow you up at any time. That's the program that they've been running for a long time, and people are just realizing that, well, wait a second. Paul Hellier's come out with some amazing information, and he's just nailing it. He is just really uncovering this whole mess and saying we have to wake up fast and take care of business, because if we don't, these guys are going to take us down an extremely dark road.
Yeah, I think, we had Paul on the show last year. I think we'll have to get him back on and do a catch-up and have a chat with him again. We'll go on to the next one. Steve?
Yeah, just before we do.
All right.
Speaking of Paul Hellier, I was having a conversation with my daughter, Sam, during the week, and we were talking about issues that's going on in the world, and I just mentioned something to her about, she said to me, do you reckon there's actually ETs on the planet? And I went, yeah, of course there are, yeah. And I said a real kind of plain face, and she looked at me. She was waiting for me to go, no, there's not. I said, of course there is, yeah. What do you mean there is? Sure, where are they? What do they look like? I said, they look like you and me, I said. And she said, no, that can't be right. And I said, well, what's his name, Paul Hellier? I said, ex-Minister for Defence. He actually came out and he's on record as saying, yes, that the ETs walk among us. They visited the planet many times. And she was blown away. She was still waiting for me to kind of go, gotcha, And I just gave her food for thought, And she said, how would we recognise them? I said, you wouldn't. I said, because they've integrated into society. I said, just like any other. I said, you may have people from other nations, other countries will come over. They just integrate into our society. They could be different skin colour, but at the end of the day, we look at them. They're just human beings. I said, they do walk among us, and make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Well, what was that 80s movie? The one with the bad perm?
Is that the one They Live?
Yeah, They Live, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's I'm guessing you've seen that, James, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a classic. It's, I'd like to, when you put the the glasses on, you see all the mind control going on.
Yeah.
And it is. I mean, there's so much mind control going on, and it's being broadcasted, through microwave towers and Gwyn towers and all these other towers they've got out there. It's just, and, through your TV sets and everything, there's just so much mind control. People would be shocked, I always tell people, if the grid went down, they go, what would happen if the grid went down? I said, everybody would wake up really fast. All of a sudden, they just feel this big heaviness lifted off of them, and they'd go, wow, what happened?
What happened?
What is going on? And so anyway, I think there's one or two things happen. Either the grid's going to have to go down to get a reset going on, or, we have to have some kind of a revolution where people come in and take down that grid. You could use HARP and things like that to broadcast love frequencies. You could totally change these things around. You could be sending out healing frequencies, and you could eliminate disease through that very same technology. Rife gave us that technology.
Yeah.
He couldn't turn on his equipment because he inoculated everybody for miles around and he had to put if he had any kind of cancer cells he was growing, he had to put them in a lead box, because it would kill him, So he, his system was so powerful. You could just go into a town and start broadcasting this thing, and all of a sudden everybody's cancer would cure, and things like that. But again, the pharmaceutical business is so big, it's so vast, and that they're not going to allow cures. I think we've had a cure for diabetes and things like that for years. I think that's been around, but it's $1 billion business. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've said that before. For people who are not familiar, Royal Raymond Rife, if you go to YouTube and type in Royal Raymond Rife, is a chap that actually he invented the microscope, and then because there wasn't a microscope at the time in the 30s that actually went down to the level that he wanted, and then he used DeForester. He asked DeForester, who was the father of radio at the time, to build a thing called a signal generator to actually to work out the frequency of the virus, the cancer virus. And that's how we got rid of it. And so we've had the cure for cancer since the 30s. But as usual, it's hushed up. Now, I don't know whether you've noticed, James, but there's a massive increase in people using baking soda, non-aluminium baking soda, for a lot of things, not just cancer, but a lot of things. And that's something that myself and Steve have talked about and we've explored. And, so it's something that we'll probably talk more about on the show, or successive shows that we'll talk about that and cures, because I think that's important as well. You don't have to, go down the road with the chemo if you don't want to. Explore other alternatives. But Steve is going to tell us about Walmart.
Yeah. I can't imagine what I'm going to tell you about Walmart, but we have heard, James, I'm guessing you've probably noticed it there where you are, that all the Walmarts, a lot of the Walmart stores appear to be closing, and that's in the US, and I think Target stores in Canada, is that another
Target? Mega store,
Mega store in Canada. Seemingly the shelves are stripped empty. I wonder, where are these supplies being shipped to underground bases, or I mean, what's your thoughts, James? What do you reckon is going to be happening with these empty stores? Will they be getting used for maybe shelters for false flags or something?
Well, what's interesting is that I just heard about that too, and I haven't had a chance to look into that. But I know a while back I went to Walmart here, our local Walmart, and I looked above it and I saw all these cameras up there, a huge array of cameras. And then I saw they brought in this thing. And it was like a mini. It was like, the place is already all fenced off and everything. It'd be really easy to just, to fence that thing off. There's one little area they need to fence off, and then you'd have a nice little encampment. But they brought in this thing, and it was a mini tower, like a guard tower. And they could just drive this thing in and puts out these things, and it goes up, and here's this guy sitting up in a tower. And they're parading that at Walmart here, and I just said, "Oh my God, this is like a concentration camp." This is ready to go, concentration camp. They just drive this little mobile unit, pop it in, and that's their headquarters. And they have their guard tower and everything. They put it right in the middle of Walmart for everybody to see. And I go, wow, they're conditioning people. They're getting people ready
Yeah,
for something.
One of the theories I heard, and I don't know how this is true, but I'll put it out there. You know about the Jade Helm 15, we'll talk about that. But they'll, if they implement martial law, the whole idea of the Walmart stores is that there's key Walmart stores that were shut down because they're going to act as distribution points for the army for when martial law comes in. And this is why if you look at the stores that have been shut down across the states, they're in certain areas and the locations of where they are, so it's easy for distribution of all the stuff. And they're linked, believe it or not, this is what the person was saying, that they're linked to underground bases, so they can actually ship whatever goods they need to the distribution units of these Walmart stores. Because the whole idea of the martial law, now you've probably heard this as well, James, where people have come out and seen a red sticker on the mailbox or a blue sticker or a yellow sticker. And that signifies whether you're going to be shot, whether you're going to be interrogated, or whether you're going to get off. You know, do you not remember we had Dr. Lorraine Day on a couple of years ago, and Dr. Lorraine Day said she's on the red list.
But she's going to get away.
Well, we don't have a mailbox, so we patented our land. We don't even have a mailbox. We don't even have an address. So it's like that might be the way to go on that one.
I don't think they're going to worry about you not having a mailbox. I think they'll put the red sticker.
We don't exist.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to put the red sticker to, basically.
I think the general idea is, from what I read, the psychology of martial law is you get the dissidents first, people like who are outspoken and who tell people what's going on, and when they're kind of taken in and shut up, then they'll go and go for the normal people because they'll be more subdued and won't cause a fuss. That's apparently the psychology. Steve, you have a question there?
No, just a comment there. Well, we have a couple of questions, but we have a comment there from Martin on the PIR chat. He's just saying that McDonald's have closed over 700 stores as well. I haven't heard anything about that. I don't know if we can confirm that, but that's quite interesting. Well, then again, from a health point of view, that's probably very good actually.
Well, that's why I've seen that. I've seen that statement. It's because they're losing massive sales. Because people know the crap that's in the food, and that's basically it, really.
And just if I can just throw in just real quick, that video today of the guy with the bread. What did you see that? Well, obviously you did. I don't know if you heard about that. James, Alan sent me a link today of a guy with some bread. He used to buy this bread. Julian, or I can't remember. I think it's American bread anyway. I'm guessing because the chap seemed like he was American. It was kind of like it was like bread. It was like a kind of a brownish colour with some raisins or sultanas, and he ran it under the tap. It soaked up the water. He was able to wring it out and go around and clean his kitchen, his toilet with this bread using various cleaners. It was like it was acted like a sponge. Yeah.
Don't know what you think. Seen the video, they said he said he loved this bread, and they sent out, so he ordered a new batch, and the new batch came out and it said new and improved, and he went, oh, this is new and improved. So he took it out and he started eating it, and his wife was going, hang on, this is not right, I'm chewing, and so she took it out of her mouth, and then he started using it to, he put it on the cold water, and it didn't break apart, and he put it under warm water, and it didn't break apart, and then he started using it, as Steve said, like a sponge. And he said, I couldn't believe, and this is bread they're giving out. Have you seen that, no?
Yeah. No, I haven't seen that, but I know, a lot of food is, they allow a certain amount of plastic, in the food as a filler, and they use plastic fillers and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting so cheap, that they're just putting more of that plastic filler or something else in there to make to stretch it out, So who knows? I mean, there's so many crazy things going on. You have to be. I always tell people in the days to come, we really need to know where our food is coming from, where our water is coming from. Test our water, see what's in it. Get the necessary filters or another water source and. There's so much going on. Going back to cancer, Otto Warburg, I think in 1927, I believe, gave us the cure for cancer. And all he said was, you have to oxygenate the blood and increase the body pH. And then cancer can't exist. You can back it out of the system. But almost all the food that especially the processed food, is extremely acidic. And it's there by reason. So the more acidic they can make us, the more we are going to succumb to these other things. And then you got the chemtrails that are totally knocking down the immune system using all the heavy metals, which are accumulative, aluminum, barium, strontium, and all these other biologicals that seem to be raining down. So they're like collapsing our immune system, and we're like sitting ducks for any kind of other, virus they want to release, whatever flu virus or so, and people should videotape, there's a lot of stuff around Bill Gates, and these guys have invested heavily, into Monsanto and into geoengineering, the chemtrails, and even into Blackwater, so why does he need a military? Why does this guy need his own private army? He should tell you something. What's he afraid of? People figuring it out, and then they're finding, he's talking about inoculations, how it's going to take care of the population problem, and then they're finding out that all these people are put on timers getting these inoculations, and there's cancer viruses in there just waiting to go off, and people don't even know about them, and the thermosol and everything else, and it's just you look at the big picture. There's just an incredible assault on human life and nature itself, and especially with the chemtrails, what they're doing to the forests. The forests are dying all over the world, and a lot of it's because the heavy amounts of aluminum are blocking the uptake of nutrients, in the forest. And so I look at our forests here, and I've never seen such a mess. And when you coat the leaves with aluminum, the forest fires they're a lot hotter, they're faster. Even the firefighters up here are going, I've never seen a fire burn this hot and this fast and move this fast, in all their lives. So, there's a full-blown assault, and I don't want to put a downer on people, but we need to wake up and smell the coffee, because almost everything that the mainstream is pushing and as to be good for us and to provide health or whatever is actually the opposite. We have to get back to nature and get closer to nature and eat the unprocessed food, grow our own food if we can, or support the organic farmers and things like that. But it's even hard to grow organic now because you're being assaulted, with the chemtrails and from the sky.
Exactly, the pH balance. Of the soil.
Yeah, we need to do the best. Yeah, but so we need to really work hard on eliminating, do heavy metal detoxes and really work on purifying our body, just because of this assault that's going on. And I always tell people, people say, oh, we won, it's over, the battle's over and everything else. I said, well, why are there chemtrails? When the chemtrails stop, we won. You'll see that's when we won.
That's it. I have said that on numerous occasions on the show, and I said, when I stop seeing the chemtrails, I know that we're making a positive move to stop everything. But as long as I see them going over, I know we haven't won.
Yeah, exactly. And, I don't, any way you want to put it, everybody's coming up with all these reasons for the chemtrail. Any way you put it, heavy metals are toxic, and they're cumulative, and they're not good for. And I don't care what they say or what they're reasoning for it. It's like, some people go, well, we need to do it to save the earth from these other technologies that people are, other countries and things like that. So do you save people by killing them? I mean, that's like going over to Iraq and leveling Fallujah, for freedom. Operation Freedom. We're going to go over there and we're going to level a whole town, a whole city, and call it Operation Freedom. You freed them from their bodies. That's about it. But you bomb them back into the Stone Ages, in Libya and things like that. And what good came out of that other than huge profits going to the military industry and the other people that invested into that? Well,
the Carlyle Group is definitely the big defence contractors that made money. I'd just like to let people know that our stream seems to be going up and down for some reason. I think it's back up now, is it, Steve?
Yeah, we just had a little issue there with our own stream. That just kind of dropped out for a couple of seconds, and the PIR stream dropped out as well. Both streams do seem to be back up and running now. So we'll keep an eye on those. So apologies for that.
We'll keep an eye. We did have a denial of service attack last week with a guest on.
Yeah.
And obviously when we're trying to get information out there, they don't like it, so they try and do their best, you know. But as always, even though we have a live show, and if they attack the live show, we'll always have a podcast. So, you know, the show will get out there anyway, so it's a bit pointless them trying to attack the show anyway. But there you go. Now, the other thing that's on the list, James, just talking about the whole cancer thing as well, I was watching again a quick documentary regarding Dr. Simoncini and his baking soda. And the approach using baking soda for cancer. And we have to, you know, we all have to be aware, as you say, about oxygenating the blood. And we had Kevin Todesky he's the CEO of the Edgar Casey Foundation. And he was telling us that even Edgar Casey turned around and he said that you have to alkalinize your bloodstream, or your body has to be alkaline because of your pH balance. And the more acid it is, the more chance you're going to have to get disease. So, and it's great getting confirmation from all different sources saying the same thing about making sure that you're more alkaline and obviously being careful of your water. And, you know, over here in Ireland, we have it fluoridated. And we, and it's we're 98% of Europe is not fluoridated, but Ireland is. And we're trying to educate and tell the government, but our government over here is, I mean, I know in America your government is corrupt, but Ireland, boy, I mean, we have it blatantly in our face every day. The amount of corruption over here in Ireland is phenomenal at the moment. And we're coming up for an election, and it's just, you know. But anyway, let's go on to the next topic that we'll just talk about here. We will get to the good stuff. We're just going through the few bits and pieces now. Russia Today said they had an article there saying scientists predict thousands will die from earthquake expected any time on the US West Coast. The question is, why is the Federal Reserve moving their offices to Chicago? And why did the American military reopen Cheyenne Mountain because it's EMP protected? Because the USGS have said that on average you normally have about 40 earthquakes, you know, a day. But recently they've had about 216 earthquakes in a 24-hour period. So do you reckon, obviously they must know something's coming down the line?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, there's been a process where the sun actually is changing and it's expanding. And, and a long time ago, the sun used to have kind of a orangey yellow look to it, and now it's white. I mean, it's the helium hydrogen shift has happened on it, and so it's burning hotter, and there's actually changes in the bands, of the coming off the sun. So there's a lot of changes happening there. The Earth is expanding. She's absorbing, a lot of these solar flares and coronal mass ejections is being absorbed by the Earth, and so she's expanding as well, and that expansion process is going to create a lot of earthquakes and volcanic activity, and that's been going on for some time. And you can actually tie if you see a large solar flare or coronal mass ejection hit the Earth, just give it about 3 days, because first you're going to see everybody going through emotional trauma, and their bioelectric fields around the body are activated, and any of the lower vibrational stuff is going to come up. So there'll be emotional outbursts and, a lot of things like that, and social changes happening with that. And then you'll see the weather react to it, and then you'll have the crazy, erratic weather going on. And then after that, you'll see an increase in earthquake and volcanic activity. And it's directly tied to the sun. There's a feedback loop, between the Earth and the sun. And the scientists know about this. There's a magnetic, channel going directly from the sun to the Earth. So there's an interaction, and on the higher levels, the sun is actually conscious. There's beings there. I actually have a photograph of a being in the sun that's undeniable. So it's like, just because, if you have a physical body, the sun isn't going to be hot to you. If you have a light body, it's not going to be hot. It's not going to affect you. And people have a hard time understanding that there are physical beings out there that are less dense physical. There's beings that are just pure energy. There's beings that have magnetized light bodies, and there's beings that are just pure consciousness, that cruise around in a Merkaba. So there's all these different things going on way beyond what we can imagine. And when you see the big picture, you realize that, there's a huge transition happening, and this denser planet we're on these denser bodies and everything else is going through an incredible change and shift and expansion. Even DNA is changing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what we've heard. There is a big change going on. Obviously, we heard about the earthquake over the volcano gone off in Chile as well. And when you see the power of Mother Earth, it's incredible to see what's going on there, and obviously Nepal as well. Just something I'd like to, we're talking about Chile. We did get a message in during the week from Dr. Rima Lebeau, who actually lives down in Chile. I think she's probably down the far side, so she hasn't been affected. But she did say that there is a May Day marathon this Friday that OYM and United We Strike are going to be streaming from about 1 o'clock in the day onwards up to about 10. And it's all about this forced vaccination program which they're trying to bring in. And Dr. Rima wants to educate people about it, and she's having a whole load of experts and people coming on the marathon on Friday. So this Friday, May Day, if anybody wants to tune in to OYM or United We Strike, we're going to run the stream for them. And you can listen all about the forced vaccines because, as you said earlier, James, they have all these poisons in them. And it's getting way over hand the way things are. But I'm sure with the amount of interviews you've done and the contacts you have, you hopefully have a bit of good news for us.
Oh yeah. I mean, all these things. What's happening is, as I said before, is all these things that are going on. They have been going on for a long time, especially with the vaccinations. Concerning population control. And as I said before on TED Talk, Bill Gates said that we are going to take care of the population problems through the vaccinations. So there you go. I mean, it's in its own mouth. These guys are slipping and they're actually spilling the beans and making mistakes. But part of the process is that all this is coming to light. It's coming up into the light, and people are seeing what's been going on for a long time, and that's part of the process. Armageddon is the great uncovering, where everything is uncovered, and brought up into the light. And so we're in that process right now where everything's being uncovered, and people are seeing just how heinous it is and how sick, our leadership has become. And, the next step is finally the people getting the courage and integrity to stand up and just say, enough's enough. I'm not going to participate anymore. And I feel that's where we're in a revolutionary period right now where people all over the world are really seeing things for what they are. They're seeing that, we live under draconian law, this Archon network. They're starting to figure out this network that's been manipulating us for thousands of years is being exposed, and people are seeing where a lot of these influences are going that are steering us in the wrong direction and starting to figure out how to deal with this and, actually getting in touch with their own God selves, you might say, or their own spirit and working from that level to make changes. So there's a huge empowerment wave of energy coming in, and some people call it unity consciousness or the ninth wave, the Mayans call it. But, this wave of energy coming through is just going to take out, whatever's not frequency specific to that wave of energy. And it's exponential and it's growing, more and more. And that's the process. So the good news is that when you see all this crap coming up to the surface, that's good. People didn't even know about it or weren't even aware of it. And now it's being seen for what it is. And the next step is for people to stand up, on divinity and stand in their own power and just say, look, I'm operating under universal law from now on. I'm not going to do anything that's harmful to humanity, the earth, and I'm not going to participate or serve, the beast anymore. And people are seeing the beast for what it is. Yeah,
well, definitely in Ireland, that's what's happening over here. More and more people, it's amazing and brilliant to see. We have a government is trying to force us to pay for water twice. We already pay for it in our taxes, 1.2 billion of taxes. And they're just trying to charge us again because they just want to get the money. Give us the money, we want the money, give us the money. This is basically what it is. And people have lost all respect for our government and our politicians because they're crooked. Corruption is just rife. And what we're seeing, and if you go on YouTube and you type Ireland water bills, you'll actually see video footage of people burning the bills and sticking the two fingers up to our government and saying, that's it, that's how I think of you. They've lost complete respect of everybody. And yes, you'll always get a handful of people who are the sheeple. But I think there's an awful lot of people waking up because there's an awful lot of people, an awful lot of information being exposed. And even people on the inside are apparently releasing information because they're fed up of what's going on. And which is great to see. And I think we are on a seesaw at the moment. And the seesaw is, they want to antagonise the people so they can bring in martial law. And what we have to do is not take a bite of that, because that will be their excuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't have to. There's other ways of dealing with things. You don't have to do it by force, but. When you have the numbers and people stand up and just don't participate. I can't remember the name. What's the name for that? Where you where it's where you kind of revolt, but it's just about not participating.
Civil disobedience.
Yeah, like civil disobedience. You just don't participate, don't go along with it. And you don't have to be violent about it or anything else. You can just say, look, and when enough people do that, and if somebody gets arrested, that's on the forefront, of what's going on and everything, you should be packing those courtrooms, and saying, hey, this is bullshit. This is nonsense. I had my share. I had to go to court 10 times here just to keep the ranch, where they did everything they could to shut it down. But, and I think, eventually, I had all these people came up and came forward and assisted me and said, look, we're standing behind you and help me with, intense legal training and everything else so I could deal with this. But, they all said, don't get an attorney. Attorney is there to turn you in, to the system. Stand in your own rights, And so I took a crash course and actually pulled it off. But, they actually asked me not to come back. They said, can you just stay out of our court system? I said, well, don't call me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. Don't invite me in anymore. I'm really fine with staying out of this system, because a lot was exposed, during that.
Well, that's what's
what a sham.
That's what's happening over here, James. There's groups now called the National Land League and the Hub, and a number of others who are all getting together and now supporting people. Like tomorrow now, we're in Trim Court, and in the court they have. Just imagine, if our population in Ireland is roughly about 4.4 million, and we have 100,000 repossessions or foreclosures this year alone. In a population of 4.4 million, that's incredible. So, but what's happening now is that there's groups getting together, supporting each other, and I'll be down in Trim Court tomorrow, along with the National Land League, and probably the people from the Hub will be there as well, supporting the people going in, because they're going in, they're scared, they don't know what to do. They don't know what's going to happen. They think the house is going to be taken off them. So the Hub and the people like the National Land League go down there. We talk to them. We explain to them what's going to happen. And then as soon as they go up and they have a defence with the registrar, they contact the Hub or the National Land League. And basically, the people there help them and to train them up to be a lay litigant and represent themselves. And we do say that. We say don't get an attorney, don't get a solicitor, because their allegiance is to the court. It's not to them. It's not it's not to the client. Their allegiance is to the court. So, and of course, the solicitors are going mad over here. The attorneys are going mad over here because they're losing so much business, because everybody's saying, no, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to represent myself.
Yeah, and over here too, the Bar Association, I think it stands for the British Accredited Registry. I'm not sure what the A stands for, but
no, that's right.
I go, what's what business do I have with the Queen? Come on, like why am I having a representative of the Queen represent me? It has nothing to do with the situation here. So I mean, the whole thing is, and if you are a judge and you have if you're part of the Bar Association, you're a licensed attorney, right there is a conflict of interest, and on top of that, it's like they work, if you work for the same people, you're all getting paid by the same person, and another person goes in there that's being fined or being, something's levied against them or having something taken from them, right there, that's a conflict of interest. If you go in there and you go, hey, who do you work for, Your Honor, and where do you get your income from, and where do you get your income from? You can go and say, well, there's a conflict of interest because you guys are deriving income from the very same people that are trying to take income from me. How can you how can this be fair? You know, there's so many things, you know, here, and legally, you know, there's no wounded party, you know, things like that for a cause of action. You know, you say, well, who's the wounded party here? You know, who got harmed here?
Yeah.
And they can't come up with it. So they don't even have a legal cause of action to even start with. So there's so many different ways of going in there and saying, look, you know, this is a sham. You know, I shouldn't even be here. And why are you wasting my time? You know, why are you calling me in here?
Are you familiar with
Are
you familiar with the return to sender process?
Yeah, I know there's so many different processes. I've heard of that one. I'm not totally familiar with it.
Okay, because basically what it is that, you know, if they send you out a bill, like Irish Water over here sent people out a bill saying, you know, nobody has signed a contract, by the way, with them, but they've just, you know, made the assumption that you have a contract with them. So people are getting their bill, and some people are deciding to burn it, other people are doing the return to sender, because our understanding is that they're sending you an offer of contract, and you have to say, well, no thanks, I don't want that, and you send it back to them, because otherwise, if you don't tell them, then they'll assume or presume that a contract is now in place. Yeah.
If somebody's trying to contract with you, you usually have to, you know, if you don't rebut it or you know, a lot of times they'll just assume, it's in place. And so it's kind of, you know, and that can work two ways. That, you know, if you can put an affidavit in there, and if say, look, I don't owe this bill, this, and this, and this, and say, you know, if they don't, you know, rebut it, you know, then it's good. You know, then say, okay, well, then you didn't rebut it. So obviously you agree with it, you know. So there's so many different ways of attacking this. There's a lot of different ways, but you know, they don't realize that their whole system is based on a scam. You know, it's all a sham, and it's all extortion, and it's just a mess. And when people start waking up to how this system is set up, you know, it's going to continue. And that is the problem, is that this whole system can be rearranged. It can be rearranged to where it truly serves the people. You know, it doesn't serve some fat elite, you know, that's sitting up there, you know, billing the hell out of everybody, you know, and it would operate much better, you know, if we you know, shifted things back into a system that truly serves the people and not serves the elite. And that's the thing. We've been in this draconian Archon network for so long, we don't even know that that's possible. Most people don't even realize that we could operate on probably 1/1,000,000th of what is paid out, you know, to govern things and run things. It's like almost all of our, you know, taxes, everything doesn't even go to what we think it's going to. It goes off to the Queen, or it goes off to the Pope, you know, or it goes off somewhere else. And then there's these huge CAFR funds that they've accumulated, you know, that states have accumulated, counties have accumulated, and they don't even know about it. And there's these massive funds sitting there that could be fixing all the infrastructure problems and everything else, but they're just siphoned off by the elite. And this is all coming out, you know, on the internet, and it's coming out, and I haven't even seen it in the mainstream actually starting to come out, and they're just going, you know, there's plenty of money to solve the problems, you know, of the planet. The main problem on our planet right now is that you have this elite with a sense of entitlement that thinks everybody should just serve them and pay exorbitantly, you know, for their exorbitant lifestyles and everything else, and it's a you know, kind of a caste system that just needs to come to an end, because everybody could live abundantly. The resources are there. You know, there's no reason why, you know, everybody can't live abundantly. And you really think about it, these elite people, I mean, they've trapped themselves basically. They're not safe. You know, they think they're safe, but their karma is going to come home to roost. And eventually, you know, they're going to lose everything they've taken from others. That's universal law. They might have a short-term gain or gain it for a little while. And any way you look at it, there's going to be a huge loss on their side of energy or consciousness or whatever, evolution. You know, they're not gaining anything, and they haven't figured this out yet. You know, it's action, reaction, or cause and effect. It's very simple process, and a lot of them think they're beyond universal law, but there is no gain, to taking or harming or destruction of the earth or whatever else they're doing. There's no gain whatsoever. That's always short term, and it always comes home to roost. And and I've seen people that are responsible for destroying a lot of the forests, and I look at them and they age fast. They look terrible, and it's because on a soul level they're not a blessing to earth. They're not a blessing to life. So life is actually eluding them. It's being taken from them. And no matter how much they pay for their heart medicine, and no matter how many doctors or heart transplants, look at Cheney. How many hearts is that guy going to go through? He had somebody told me he had 160 heart attacks. So I said, come on. I mean, at what point do you figure out I might be doing something wrong?
Yeah. Plus the fact that I didn't know he had a heart.
Yeah, I think it's a mechanical one now. Isn't it? I'm not even sure if he has
I think he probably has a pacemaker. Didn't they try and they had to protect him because somebody was trying to hack the pacemaker he was using?
Yeah.
There was something like that.
I would.
Yeah, it was something like that with the technology. They tried to hack him. What's your take on the reset, James? What do you think's going to happen there, and when, and is it going to happen?
I'll tell you what I've heard is the reset's already happened. It's happened a while back, but it has to be implemented. And that's the problem is getting, people down through the system, the various avenues of the system to get on board, with what's happening and do the changes. And I've been working, with people in the system, and I don't want to mention any names, but very high up that are actually writing the paperwork and doing these shifts. And these are the people that are for real. I mean, there's a lot of scammers out there and people saying, join us and we'll give you your $50 million if you invest, $10,000 and things like. There's all these things out there that I'd stay away from because, it's not going to work that way. People go, yeah, I'm going to get my $5 billion, and buy a new yacht, a new house and everything because I'm part of the awakening and healing process. Well, if you were a part of the awakening and healing process, you'd be thinking about taking care of other things first, like poverty and homelessness and, food, feeding the people and things like that first, So it's all about consciousness. And a lot of people are still doing the me thing, they're not involved with unity consciousness, and they're still, there's kind of a spiritual narcissism going on, that it's pretty obvious. And I know there's a guy named the Ambassador that covers this a lot, and covers how, the main problem is consciousness, that we're dealing with. And so even people who seem to be on the side of the light and act like they're, serving the light and everything are really serving themselves. And unfortunately that happens a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've come across a few people that proclaim to be a spiritual person, and you wouldn't trust them with your family jewels. I think we have a few questions. Steve.
Yeah, we do. We have a couple of questions. Just want to throw out there apologies for anyone who is having difficulty with the stream. Not sure exactly what's going on. But all three streams are up and running at the moment, so let's just keep our fingers crossed that stays just like that. James, Alan touched on this early on. He kind of just passed by the Jade Helm 15, and we did have a question in from one of the listeners on People's Internet Radio stream, and he's wondering, what do you believe, James, is behind the Jade Helm 15?
You know what, I actually... Recently, I just got back from traveling, and so I've missed a lot of the news and a lot of what's going on. I'm just catching up, and I have about 5 billion emails. I'm still half a month behind on emails trying to catch up. So I've missed a lot of that. I've heard about it. I haven't had a chance to look into it, but my first impression is that it's just another one of those programs that is just going to fall apart. And a lot of these things that we are seeing that we think are negative are actually some of the benevolent military stepping forward and saying, okay, we're going to step in and we're going to take down this system. And so some of the military movement we're seeing is actually in our highest and best good. I'm not saying all of it. So we have to be really careful and not, jump into fear or preconceived ideas about it, because the military is waking up fast, and there's people in the military. And as I said before, I know that there's certain interests that are benevolent that have taken over, the World Court. They've taken over the the IMF, they've taken over they're actually in the process of taking over the Federal Reserve. I think that's been done too. That might be why it's being moved. But everything's going to go back to the Treasury, and the banksters are basically out. I mean, they're not going to have access to the funds of the people anymore, and charging huge interest debt and things like that. That's on its way out, and that's the main problem now. We have to take care of the banksters, and once they're taken care of, everything is going to flourish, and it'll be abundant. So basically, that's what I'm seeing. I don't, they can try to pull this off again. It might be a little temporary scare tactic that they're doing, but it's not going to work, in the long run. Yeah. None of these things are going to work. But I haven't had a chance to really look into it. But I know I went to the local Walmart here. I hate to say it, but we have a local Walmart here, and it's kind of a small town, so some things you just can't get, in other places, or I'd shop there. But, I went into there last week, and I was amazed at when I went in there, it's just how empty the shelves were, and how a lot of stuff is just not being stocked. It's not there.
And what about the people that work in that store, James? Could they offer any insight as to why they didn't have a full complement of stock?
Yeah, I asked one of them what's going on. I said, why are the shelves so bare? And they go, we don't know. We don't know. It's like we've been ordering things and they're doing the bare minimum or something. That's what one of them told me. He said, we don't know why they're doing it, but they said we're just getting the bare minimum, to keep operating.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, the people who are running the stores, who work in the stores, it's probably the same as some of the stores over here, where they're kids basically, probably high school, or so they're really only there to scan things and take in the cash. They wouldn't be kept in the loop. But it's interesting to see that it's come from nowhere, and all of a sudden all these stores are just closing. It's mad. Anyway, I know there's a bit of a lag. There is a bit of a lag, James. I do apologise in the internet connection. I think I may have spoke over you there, so I want to apologise for that.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, we'll move on with the questions. This one came in at kind of early on in the show from Chris on the OYM chat room, and thanks to Chris. Chris is wondering if, and we've heard this before, that our thoughts create our reality. And Chris says, if our thoughts create reality, can the experiencers be creating the experience, and the craft / UFOs are a projection of the viewer's minds? So, I mean, guessing if we're getting drip fed information that there's a UFO thing going to happen, or there's UFOs up there, and if we all believe that in our thought process, could we be creating it, do you think?
Well, exactly. That's how you manifest a contact. You put it out there. You put it. It's your intent, your intention. There's all kinds of intention experiments that create that. The trick is not to let your imagination take off, around the experience, and be discerning when it happens, and be sure that's what you're working with. And also, too, when you set an intention, you want to be very positive about it. To say, I want benevolent contact, service-oriented ETs, nothing malevolent, nothing negative. Be very clear about what you're asking for, and also there's protection, and ways of healing unseen negative influences that people need to learn if they're going to play around in these other dimensions, So there is some self-mastery involved in it, and that's what we teach at the ranch. We teach self-mastery classes and ambassador training classes and things like that to help people to understand who's who, so they don't get hooked up with something that might not be in their highest and best good, which happens quite a lot. You'd be surprised how much that is going on.
I'd well believe it. When you're kind of working on the ranch there, and you're doing your thing, James, this is just something that came up on my radar during the week last week with the power of the healing power of crystals. Do you use crystals in any of your processes, or any time at the ranch?
Well, I mean, I love crystals. I have a lot of different crystals, and they're around the ranch. They're, all over the place. But I don't really use them. I'm not really dependent on anything, because my own my own head is, I have my own liquid crystal skull, basically.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be dependent on anything, but, if people use them, great. I kind of go for no dependencies. If I can't generate that energy through myself, which we are pretty unlimited beings, it's like that's just where I'm at. But I'm also fascinated by technology that does incorporate, higher dimensional energies or higher consciousness and energy. So I'm fascinated by that as well. And especially here at the ranch, it's when I do sessions, the transpersonal healing sessions. We've had scientists come out here with Harold Oilfield's like PIP technology and film, the session, and they're just blown away because they see this vortex open up. They see bodies pixelate into light. They see all this healing going on and energies coming into the room, and so they can actually physically document that now that there is, extreme energy, in the room and a lot of activity going on. So, I like it when science catches up with spirit and that they can actually document that this is a real-time event that's happening.
Has anyone ever left the ranch, James, and then kind of tried to debunk and maybe, say it's a magic show or something that you're putting on, or does everyone kind of see it, believe it, and, come away converted?
I think in their heart of hearts they know it's real. But there are people that have left the ranch, and it's not an easy place to live. It's a stargate, and it's a vortex, and it's a lot of energy here, and stuff comes up. People's stuff comes up, and childhood trauma, their fears, whatever programs, wounds, traumas, all come up here. And it's a golden opportunity to heal, and some people will hit the wall, and they don't want to go to the next level, and so they will leave, and the ego will try to deny, all the experiences that they had, because it's, people don't realize, but the real spiritual work is about understanding the mechanics of the ego and how the ego works, and keep a watchful eye on it, and 24/7, because it's a tricky little bugger, it's always tricking you, and always, it's putting you, you're right, you're the chosen one, you're this, you're fully illuminated, you're so much higher than this or that. It's amazing how it works, and especially when you start, any kind of alcohol or drug abuse or things like that opens the gates for other energies, and a lot of the spirits will come in, and they call them faker spirits. And they use flattery. They'll tell you you're the chosen one. They'll tell you this and that. And I've been extremely well trained in that. I went through the Tibetan Foundation, the Teachings of the Inner Christ, and all these different things, and learned how by lamas and yogis how to deal with these energies and how to keep them at bay. But the bottom line is that don't get caught up in the separation game, and stay humble, and you'll be fine. But when you get into separation game, like I'm the chosen one, or I'm this, or the spiritual, there's a lot of spiritual ego and spiritual narcissism kicks in and things like that. That's when you've been hooked. And once you've been hooked, it's so hard to let go of that. It usually takes a really hard lesson to come down the pike, to where you go back to humility. And, I've seen that quite a bit, but I'm sure there are people out there that hit the wall, and I've seen people couldn't even come on the land. They came on the land and just had to leave, immediately because their frequency wasn't specific, and they weren't ready to heal or let go. So basically, the place here, it's a golden opportunity if you really want to heal and ascend and go forward in your awakening healing process, but you have to have some spiritual maturity to go with that, and you have to be accountable and responsible for your attitudes and emotions and what's coming up for you, and not go into blame and projection. And that's not an easy path. I just did a radio show last night with a woman that was here, Nikki Gregg, and she was actually she just did a special over there in Ireland. She's a supper, I guess a paddleboarder, and it was interesting. She came here and went through that whole process, and went from being totally entrenched in the material world, and and kind of, the see me, dig me world and things like that, and, star, and in all these things. And she went from that world, into her spiritual world, and she talked about that and how hard that was, and how, there's a lot of crying and a lot of sadness and a lot of healing and a lot of releasing and a lot of facing, her patterns and her programs, and she talked about that on the air, so I can talk about it. But it's quite a process, and not everybody makes it through, and some people will bail out, before it's over, and then later on, finish up later on and figure out, that, hey, wait a second, that was my stuff.
Do you have, James, just sorry, Steve, do you have you come across people who are mediums who would be kind of sucked in? You said the separation game, so they kind of tune in and they have contact with their inverted commas guide, because it might not be their guide, it might be an archon, it might be something negative, but because they throw compliments, they get sucked into it. And have you come across mediums who will not accept that's a possibility?
Oh, yeah, that happens quite a bit, because once you get locked in there, it's very hard to get out, because you made a contract, you made an agreement. So you have to break. You have to call in the higher beings, just break all contracts, all agreements, and ask them to remove these beings, and then just go to the next level, basically. It's like, there's no judgment, there's no guilt trips or anything else. It's like part of a learning process. You just got caught, you got caught on one level. And we have to back up and be brutally honest with ourselves and go, wow, how did they get me? How did they hook me? And usually it goes back to childhood, some need for acceptance and approval outside of ourselves, or some childhood trauma that wasn't taken care of, and that was the hook. And so, basically what within that draconian world, or that network, the Archon network, everybody's seeking everything external. External love, external acceptance, external approval. It's all external. Drive the right car. Have the big cash wad. And the beautiful house, and you drink the right beer, and you get the bronze beauty. To go with it. And all that stuff. And that's all an external program that we just had hammered down us. And if we agree to that, and we agree to work with these archons, then we're going to get all that. And it's sad, because there's bennies involved in that, because they own that world. They own the first three chakras, which are survival, sex, and power, and that's how they manipulate people. But when you get into the heart, they can't manipulate you anymore. You're free. And so if you stay in the heart and let love flow through you, it's the ultimate power in the universe, and be of service, then you're outside of that network. And that's where people have to go. They can't be doing the work because of money. They can't be doing the work because of ego or for notoriety or things like that. You have to be doing the work out of service. Yeah. And I want to say too, there's nothing wrong with being paid for that, or having donations come in and things like that, because these people that are doing this work, they have extreme pressures on them to do this work. And they do need they need a house over their heads. They do need to pay the bills. They do need certain things. And like here at the ranch, it's like I fund most of the ranch here just through book sales and through counselings and things like that. It goes back into the ranch here, and I live a very simple life. But it's like we still live in a material world, and we still need, as long as money is the accepted exchange of society to operate or function and to get the message out and help people, we do need funds, and so we need to be aware of that, break any poverty vows and things like that, because there's plenty for everybody. We just need to be open to that. And again, I think we need to break the spell of the banksters, and once that's done, then the world will flourish. But and that is being done right now. It's amazing what's happening, and I'm talking to people on the highest levels that are involved in this.
And what are they saying on the highest levels? Sorry, Steve, do you have more questions there for James?
Oh, we do. We'll get to them.
Okay, no problem. What are they saying, just from a positive point of view? Because the whole game with the global elites, is to play the game of scarcity, because if they throw out scarcity, then they can charge loads of money for things that are hard to get, and obviously that's the game. If everything was plentiful, then they wouldn't make any money. They couldn't control people, but they play the scarcity game. So what are you hearing from your side?
Well, you really think about they have technology beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, they can, the super soldiers are talking about this technology that they can be blown to pieces and just have, a couple pieces left of them and put them in these special, I don't even know what to call them, machine. I don't even know what they are. They're super high-tech rejuvenation chambers, and they can rebuild a body, from a part, basically. And they have replicators. They have all these other things. So with that technology, how can you be scarce? How can you be sick? How can you be ill? How can you not be a healthy, functioning being and live in abundance? And that's the whole problem, is all of this has been held back. And, too, it's the same thing with, I'm all into, I'm into just doing things naturally. I love growing my own food. I love working in the gardens and things like that. But there really is no need whatsoever for scarcity on this planet. And I use a good example. If you take one kernel of corn, put it in the ground, you're probably going to get at least one ear of corn, maybe, and that ear is going to have 500 kernels on it or more. So you've got 1 to 500 ratio on that. And so if you plant, if you get a couple of ears and you plant, if you plant 1,000, kernels in the ground and then multiply that times 500, that's the abundance of nature. And so there's no reason why, nature is so abundant. It's unbelievably abundant. And all of this lack has been manufactured. There's no reason for anybody to starve. There's no reason for anybody not to have a roof over their heads. There's no reason for any of this. We can make things out of sand and garbage. We can make, out of the plastics, we can make decking or siding. It's like, recycle these things. But there's ways of just, you could take sand and make glass beams and make a whole beautiful house out of glass that would shift, with the environment, with the temperatures and things like that, would actually change. It would be smart glass and things like that. There's incredible technologies out there that are here now that if we employed these technologies, everybody could live in a beautiful little house, that was totally energy efficient, that would generate its own electricity and be totally in sync with the environment. And that's the way these advanced civilizations live. And that's why I always say it's so important that we open up to these new technologies and these higher dimensional beings and these more advanced civilizations, because they have that technology to totally transform this planet and clean up the planet. The only problem is the powers that be, who are capitalizing at the expense of humanity, the earth, that are creating the manufactured lack and the diseases and the war and disease profiteers. These guys are the ones that are in direct opposition to, to us actually connecting with these higher dimensional beings. And so people need to realize that, that they are totally manipulated through the religions, through the media, through all of these aspects to fear, to fear these advanced civilizations that are sitting there. They're waiting in the wings. They want to help us, but it's up to us to put a unified message out there that, okay, we're ready. We want help. We want to clean up the earth and things like that. And I think right now, we're at a point right now where it's so bad that we're going to need all the help we can get, with Fukushima and with the chemtrails, with everything that's being done here right now is we're governed by psychopaths. It's undeniable. And, scientists that are just gone run amok.
What do you think is going to happen with the Hadron Collider and CERN? There is kind of rumours that the more sinister, the fact that, again, there's a lot of money being pumped into something that they're not going to get anything back, and there's two sides of the coin. The CERN thing is obviously, they talk about the God particle, but they say that it's a Stargate. Now, people think that something will come through the Stargate, but maybe they're going to go through the Stargate to get away from something. Maybe. That's the other kind of thought process.
Yeah, there's so many different things around that. I think it's funny that this massive multi-billion-dollar program they've got going on there was taken out by a bird. You know, a bird dropped a breadcrumb down a grate, and then it took out the whole thing. So you really think about that. I mean, how smart is that? I mean, you build a system that expensive, and a bird takes it out. I mean, you know, it's just phenomenal. You know, the hubris. It's like the Titanic. You know, not even God can sink this ship. You know, and they're all. And when it first run, it's down. Yeah. You know, it's like. But also when they in the Hadron, they actually.
So I was just going to say on the collider as well, they got the measurements wrong, as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether you heard that. They basically the Europeans were using metric, and the Americans were using imperial, and there was a muck up in the measurements. So when they went to put it together, it was all the wrong size.
Yeah. Yeah, these are our most brilliant minds out there working on these things. But you know, that is the problem I see over and over. We take our most brilliant minds, and who gets them? The war industry. You know, the war industry snags these people, and what do? They build weapons of mass destruction. You know, they build nanotechnologies. They build, you know, all these little things they're putting in the chemtrails. You know, they build super weapons. You know, and everything. You know, even the crashed ET stuff, you know, that they've gleaned, you know, all went into the military black ops, you know, black projects and things like that. So it's like, what, you know, I think people need to figure this out, like where is the technology being used for good, you know, and who is in charge of this technology and where it goes. And once they realize that the elite are the ones that are in charge of this technology, and know this technology exists, then the people can rise up and do something about it. And I think that's where we're at right now. There's people demanding, hey, you know, we need this technology now to change the earth. And there's people in the black projects themselves that realize that this is a no-win situation. And a lot of people ask me, well, how can these guys do this? I mean, they have families, they have kids. How can they continue to destroy the earth and do chemtrails and things like that? And you know, how can these human beings do this? And the answer is they're not human. You know, people don't realize that they sold out their humanness a long time ago. Their soul has a wedge between they can't even access their soul anymore. They're puppets. And they're run by these draconian, you know, Archon networks, and that is, you know, the main problem that we're dealing with right now. We have soulless entities that have no love for creation or humanity, that are running the show, and actually they just want to see everything destroyed. It's like they're very twisted, sick people that are at war with creation itself. Yeah. You know, they're warring on God, if you want to call it God. They're warring on God's children. You know, they're not human. That's the only answer.
Yeah, they're the people you're describing in our government, and probably most governments. I mean, what's happening over in Ireland is probably a replication across the world of other countries as well. And people are beginning to wake up. As you said, they're using their own energy to help others, which is what it's all about. It's all about your intention. And it's great to see so many people jumping on the bandwagon and helping out and just saying, well, I'm going to give my time to help other people out. And that's what it's all about. And we've talked about time banking last week, about, you know, getting involved in time banking, something that we're looking into here at OYM. We're trying to find out more information about that. So we'll get back to our listeners and let them know. We're going to try and get a pilot project if we can and start the ball rolling, you know, with that and try and get that out. But Steve, I think you have another question for James.
Yes, I do indeed. Where are we now? We are here. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, James, and I misplaced one of my little icons. There we go. There's the questions. Yeah, Max is just wondering. Okay. What does James think of Simon Park's information overall?
I haven't really. I've heard some of his information, and I just my own personal thing, and it's I'm coming at this as an old Palladian warrior, you might say, that I've been dealing with this for lifetimes and lifetimes. It's called planetary liberation. And it's actually liberating the planet of these influences like gray reptilian energies that come in and they take over at the highest. They create these hierarchies and everything else, and they enslave the people. And I've been involved in this in many lifetimes. And so whenever I hear the reptilians or I hear the other stuff, right away a red flag comes up for me. Reptilians are good. They're big huggies. They're like Barney. You sing songs and give them a hug and then they eat you. It's like, I don't. I just to me, I think some of the information is good. That's all good, but I just. And that's my thing, and I've told people that. I'll be straight up with you. I've been dealing with these energies for so many lifetimes. I don't trust them. I don't have any desire to work with them. And I know but I do know there are some benevolent reptilians out there, but still I'm going to be keeping an eye on them no matter what, and making sure they are in service mode, that they are here for the highest and best good, because I know women that have had reptilian lovers and they speak so highly of them, but as soon as they want to stop or they say no, all hell breaks loose, and so it goes bad, and so to me I just think, well, it's like we just have to really hold them to universal law that they can't trespass. They need to respect the divine right to free will and self-determination, and if they're not, following that program, if they are doing any kind of manipulation or whatever, then we need to, take a look at that and learn how to deal with it. How to not allow that to happen in our own personal lives.
Yeah, we spoke earlier. Well, Alan mentioned earlier, and about, let's say something is going to kick off on the planet. Let's say it could be September. We don't know, but we've said time and time again that if there are other extraterrestrial races or beings who can see what's going on and have the power to intervene, I know they won't intervene, and we have said, show us the light, show us some wisdom, give us the tools to defend ourselves, not even against extraterrestrial attacks, but just against the corrupt politicians and the corrupt psychopaths who are running this country into the ground and doing all sorts of horrible, horrible things. From your your time spent studying them, if we ask, will we receive? Basically, is what I'm asking. If enough people are awake and we ask, would we be given the information or given the tools to make a change for the better?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if enough people ask and you get the majority going in that direction, and enough people ask, it frees them up. They can work under universal law. There used to be a prime directive, and that's off. That's been taken down because there's so much intervention on the negative side that they had to step in and say, okay, we have to come in and take care of this and clean up, the tyranny, clean up that. And so there's a huge cleanup process where they are stepping in right now, and they're cleaning out, any of the native grays and the reptilian. They're cleaning on the highest levels. And so a lot of these puppets are losing their masters, and they're floundering out there because they can't make decisions anymore, and they don't have that cleverness, and so they're just blowing it and being exposed. And that's happening on a grand scale right now. They said it's up 80-something +% done as far as removing these other entities. And so the Pleiadians I've been talking to, they said it's right around the corner. It's not too far away. They said they have control of things. They're putting an end to tyranny on the planet. And a lot of it's done, you don't see it. It's being done energetically by raising frequencies, and they know how to use sound and other things to change frequencies and things like that. They have full use of creational energy, so they know how to alter things. But some of the things they have, it's going to take time to do it. They can't do it all at once because, a lot of it, there's personal responsibility on our parts that we need to wake up and realize what's going on, and as part of our karma or our evolution, you might say, to do something about this. And there's several things at play, and if you turn the energy up too fast, you're going to lose a lot of people. You know, they won't be able to handle the change or handle the shift. So it's a tricky. It's very well orchestrated, and it's under control. I mean, there are ships and beings out there beyond our imagination that are in charge of the planetary energies that are making sure. If you turn the energy up too much, you're going to have full-out war. You'll have so much chaos and war and so the little bit of chaos is good because you're creating change. But it's, but there's also a plan. There's a plan that's coming from the source itself, and it's a universal plan and a wave of energy that we need to catch up to and be in sync with, that no man can stop. And so they're helping us adjust to that energy that's coming in.
It's not the problem, James, though. Sometimes we hear that it's just around the corner, and that's kind of been said for the last few years. It's always just around the corner. We never really get there. Yeah.
Yeah, when I hear soon, I go, yeah, right, this. But, it's like before, there's all these people, and they're saying 2012, we're all going to hold hands and ascend, and they had all these messages and wrote books about it and everything. And I always told people, no, 2012 is the kickoff. It's the start. It's not the end. It's the beginning of the end of the old program. And, I got a lot of flack for that. And I've always told people, not yet, not yet, not yet. But now I'm really seeing clearly that between now and 2016, we're going to see amazing things happen. And we need to be ready for them. And we need to be able to embrace these things when they are coming in. And it also, you have to honor individual consciousness. Some people are just not ready yet. They're not going to embrace this, and they're going to have their experiences and resist, these changes. But that's their choice. That's their free will and things. But the problem is that their personal free will can't override the universal will, and the Earth's free will too. I mean, she's an entity, and she's shifting and changing and ascending. So as strong and powerful as they think they are, it's a no-win situation if they go against, this universal flow of energy and the evolution of Earth. And so all of that is happening right now, and it's very tricky as to, and it's kind of complicated on how much they can intervene and when, and some of the some chaos is good. It's all the stuff coming to the surface, like, the Armageddon scenario is good because everything's being unveiled. It's being seen for what it is. So,
do you think the war on a different timeline too? Because obviously there is a belief that we were on the kind of Planet X doom and gloom timeline up to 2012, and then the timeline switched.
Yeah,
to a positive
and
timeline.
they can shield us. They have ships that would block out the entire eastern sky. And you just put a few of those ships around the planet and power up their shields. They could shield us from these things, but it's tricky. Some things need to happen. A good thing is Fukushima. You look at Fukushima. Well, our president over here is actually signing contracts to build new ones, the same type of reactors, which are ticking time bombs, creating the same amount of waste and all this other. I mean, it's totally insane. It's like the nuclear industry and all the money behind that, and they're going full steam ahead. So, I mean, at what point do you say, well, they're so destined to self-destruction, maybe we just need to allow that? I mean, they're eternal beings. Maybe this is their lesson that they need as an eternal soul. And, we keep screaming at them. We've been screaming at them since 1950, in the 40s, late 40s. Stop. Do not go there. Do not, light that match, the nuclear technology and the bombs. And did anybody listen? No, and ET's actually worked with the government and said, look, we'll give you these clean fuels technologies, but you have to get rid of your nukes, and you have to stop this war going on. You need to make peace. And again, we said no. We took another road, So, we go back to this thing, and I look at it from their point of view. At what point, luckily they're extremely forgiving and patient. If they weren't, we'd be gone a long time ago. But at what point do they have to say, okay, look, we need to rise up. we need to take personal responsibility and rise up as a collective and say we're done, with this old program. We want something different. And then that's giving them a message, hey, look, they are waking up. We can step in. We can help, and things like that. So
okay. Well, we have
it's tricky. Yeah, it's a really tricky situation going on.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. And obviously, the powers that be are not going to go nice and peacefully. They'll be going kicking and screaming. So they have to play the cards right with that and know when to move in and know when not to move in, because they could turn around and just press the button, I suppose, as well. And take everybody with them. And
exactly,
they obviously don't want that to happen. I think Steve has a couple of questions for you there, Steve.
Well, I've definitely got one anyway.
Yeah.
James, Chris is wondering, if someone thinks greys are coming into their bedroom while they sleep, is it possible to catch this activity on camera? And if so, would you need special equipment? What sort of camera?
I think kind of any kind of infrared camera, would be able to catch that, and something on it. You'd have to have some kind of a sensor, to kick it on and off, or even those what do you call them? It'd be good to get a little recorder there, this motion, by voice activated, you might say, or things like that. But the thing about that is that you can take care of that by working with the benevolent ones. And so you make an allegiance with the benevolent ones and break all contracts and agreements with these other ones, and that stops. So they're, even the masters that people, some people believe don't exist, and it's amazing, but you can call on a lot of the known masters to help and intervene in this, but there's ways of doing it, and there's ways of healing these unseen negative influences, and there was ways of standing in your personal authority, and saying I'm not participating in this. So that's a better approach is just to work with your own higher self and make your own personal God connection, and work with the masters and the benevolent ETs and have them, get under their wing, and then you're under their protection, and then you can clear these energies out. Exactly,
and I think that's the way forward. I think. I mean, we all have to be aware of our energies and work with energies. And I think more and more people are getting receptive to that and trusting their energy. Because as one thing I quoted on Facebook, and I've said to a few people, energy doesn't lie. So if you're picking up a bad vibration off somebody, it's not lying to you. You're picking it up for a reason.
Exactly. And also, too, they can control your electronics very easily. And I think they can even do it mentally. It's amazing. A lot of times to get our message out, we'd have to clear out the grays and other energies, because all of our electronics would go crazy, and we couldn't do any kind of audio-visual things or anything because of these beings that were interfering. And they can shut your camera off. I was up in the mountains one day, and I saw a gray ship, and there was actually it was starting to manifest. It was partially cloaked, but I could see it, and I saw this gray stick his head around this slit in the sky. It was really bizarre. And so I grabbed my camera and I tried to film it, and it shut off. Every time I tried to film it, it shut off. I could turn around, I could film back behind me, and it worked fine. But as soon as I turned it towards the ship, it was shut off immediately.
Wow.
And so they have an ability to shut down cameras and I've also seen them, too, just totally drain the batteries. We had a guy here that had these submarine batteries, and he had this whole system set up. And he goes, there's no way this is going to go down. And the ship flew over and just shut everything down and drained his batteries to zero.
Yeah, I've heard that happening spiritually. When you go into certain places and the batteries get drained, the cameras stop working.
That happens here a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, listen, James, we're going to let you crack on, because we know you're very busy, and a big thank you for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure talking to you and getting an update on what's going on and what's happening, and hopefully we'll get you on in a few months' time. We'll get another update, because there's so much happening globally at the moment, as we said on the show, and we've been talking about a lot of subjects that you just kind of keeping tabs with everything is a full-time job in itself. But a big thank you for coming on the show. Yeah. I'm going to pass you over to Steve, and Steve will get all your details off you there.
Yeah, James, again, it is good information. It's always good to have you on. You're definitely a friend of OYM. Absolutely. We do have your website here, ECETI.org. I have posted that up on the chat rooms, both of the chat rooms there, for people to check out and see exactly what you and ECETI are all about. Do you want to make any closing statements?
Well, yeah, also, too, is that we have and stay tuned because we have a big July conference here. We're going to have some amazing speakers coming. And so if you want to check that one out, you can go to, it's www.privateinvitationeceti.com and to register. And there's actually, if you type in ECETI 2015, you can still get a discount on that one. So it's an amazing conference. It's July 4th weekend here, and every year we've had major flyovers and of the ships, appearing to people, and just people have an incredible. We had photographs of masters appearing here because it is a Stargate and things like that. So it's an amazing place to come and hear some just incredible speakers, that are coming out. So
we'd love to come over. But the other thing I'd like to just quickly mention is everybody that kind of gets involved in things. I know yourself, James, you have a great person behind you called Ashley. And I think it's only fair play to give a big handout and a big thank you to Ashley, because Ashley does so much great work for you as well. And I'm always in contact with Ashley, and we're swapping information and stuff. And I want you to pass on the thanks to Ashley from myself and Steve for what she does as well.
Oh yeah, she's definitely the backbone here. An amazing person on both energetically, spiritually, and as far as keeping myself straight, Yes. Yeah, as you know, most people that are operating on higher dimensions things are not too good at organizational things, and so she keeps me going in the right direction.
She keeps you organised. All right, James, just stay with us there. We're just going to go off to a bit of music, and we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com, and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
And we're back. That's Going Loco in Acapulco. We're just discussing here who actually sings it. Alan reckons it's Billy Ocean. I don't think it is. I think it's a group. It's just that it doesn't actually say here. So answers on the postcard, or whoever gets it first will get a Rice Krispie cake.
There you go. Right, you're going to tell us about Facebook, Steve.
Facebook. The old anti-social media, you just can't beat it. Yeah, we've just noticed as well, and we've heard this before, and guessing other people have noticed it too. Facebook, they seem to be mucking about with the numbers. We actually had a post up there on Facebook, and we had 700 likes on it and 3 shares, and it went down to 294 likes and 1 share. Now, I know we've no control over them, and the same thing was happening a while back on YouTube as well. I think we and other people had posts up on YouTube as well, and the likes were going down and views were going down. So again, I think maybe Facebook just do what they want and do what they damn well please. They're providing the service, so they'll make and change the rules whenever they feel like it.
Exactly, yeah. So nothing we can do there. The other thing that was in the news, I don't know whether you heard, Claire Daly and Mick Wallace are apparently being threatened that they'll be locked up in jail for 30 days if they don't pay the €2,000 fine for trespassing down in Shannon Airport. Remember they went over the fence?
Yep.
Mick never got his ladder back anyway, so they still have his ladder. So basically, the judge said to Mick and Claire that if they don't pay the €2,000 fine, they're going to jail for 30 days, and they're quite adamant that they're not going to pay. So fair play to them, and I think it'd be worthwhile keeping an eye on that and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want a quick mention there for the 4 tops, so Rice Krispie cake on the way to the captain on PIR. Yeah, that's disgraceful. I mean, look, there's people who are doing a hell of a lot worse. There's people wrecking this country, driving it into the ground, and they're getting away with it scot-free. And even if they do get caught and they go to court, what will they do? They get a slap on the hand and maybe a little bit of community service where they might have to go out and pick up a little bit of litter, throw it in the rubbish bin, and that's it, you're done. But you have the likes of Claire and Mick who are standing up for the common man. They're standing up for what they believe in, and the system is kind of going, we can't have that. The full penalties of the law, or the full lash of the law, whatever it may be. Again, that's just to stop other people from trying the same thing. I suppose it's really trying to shut us down and cut us off and all this carry on. They won't succeed.
No, definitely not. And something that I came across during the week, and Steve said he was aware of it, that Boots.ie, as in the shop, is selling baking soda toothpaste. Now, I wasn't aware they were selling that, but I'm going to try and get someone.
Well, I'm guessing when you're in the chemists, you probably don't be looking at the toothpaste. You'll be just looking at other things. I don't know what you'll be looking at. It's your own business.
Yeah.
But did you never find yourself going and a packet of toothpaste or
something for the weekend
and a comb?
God, them days are gone, aren't they?
No, I think it's the Arm and you have it there, Arm and Hammer. They've been selling that. Arm & Hammer stuff, the baking soda toothpaste for years. Again, we don't know if it's the baking soda with the aluminium in it, or if it's the one without. Now, I mean, I've seen this before, this particular toothpaste, and I have noted that when you use it, like again, you wet your toothbrush and you stick it in, but it stays kind of like a powder, like a fine powder. So I'm guessing it probably may have aluminium in it. It's probably worth checking out. Just to find out, because I know the stuff that we get here, our baking soda, it clumps up like you wouldn't believe. You have to hit it with a hammer. So it is actually the stuff that doesn't have any of the aluminium. So there we go.
There you go. And how's your week, Steve?
At 10 to 9, you asked me how's my week. Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll be very, very quick about it. I found myself the other day talking to a man who drives a truck. And we had some small talk, and he started talking about religion being a method of control, and he said it to me kind of tongue-in-cheek, and he was waiting for a reaction. And I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. So we had a great conversation, probably maybe 10, 15 minutes after that, about putting the world to rights and all this sort of stuff. So he was well open-minded, so I was quite happy to come across him. There's a chap I've been emailing backwards and forwards. He may be on the show at some point in time to do a 20-minute pre-record. It was supposed to happen for this week, but he's having issues with his home over there for closure, and he has a lot of information. He's been on to a lot of our politicians here as well, but he shared a little bit of information with me, and I'll just touch on it briefly. The 1871 Lunacy Act. What is that, you may say? Well, it's an act that was brought out in 1871, whereby if you want to help a family member, or I want to help a family member, and you're one of my siblings, or I'm one of your siblings, I can go, oh, no, you're not mentally right. I don't want you doing that, and I can go and I can apply for this thing, and this act will then come into force, the 1871 Lunacy Act. It is still getting used, and that's how one of the reasons where we know we're still under Crown control, because if we weren't, the 1937 Constitution would have overwritten that, but it's still used today. There's a lot more information I have in relation to that. I wasn't really going to go into it this evening, so I don't really have much written down, but maybe for next week I'll compile some of the information from the emails. And this all sparked off from an email that I seen on a forum in relation to Irish water, how to beat Irish water. And this chap, his name is Liam, he had a comment up, and he had his email address and invited correspondence. So I've been corresponding with Liam now for the past maybe 2 weeks. And what the man is going through is unbelievable. He's really, really, really taken on the Irish government. But again, more about that later. Anything else? Yeah, just one last thing I'll say. When we were talking about food earlier, we were talking about, the rubber bread. Someone told me a long, long time ago, and I checked it out, and it's seemingly true, but dairy spread, you have butter on your toast or your bread. And we all know butter is hard to spread, but the dairy spread that they have in the stores today, seemingly it's one molecule away from being plastic. Now, I've heard this before, but seemingly that's true. And there's actually a chap that I know through work. He works in the dairy game. That's all I'll say. He works in the dairy game. Not saying which part of it, but he's definitely he's in the game anyway. And he said I asked him about it about 2-3 years ago, and he said, yeah, that's right. He says, I wouldn't use any of that crap. He said, yeah, when they say it's one molecule away from being plastic, they're not lying. He says,
that's terrible.
So there you go.
That's the kind of food we're actually taking on.
Anyway, how's your week, Fred?
Just very quickly, a few things. My quest continues regarding I'm looking to find out when do we actually become a citizen and agree to the laws of the land. Okay, so that's a big topic. So I did message Vin. Maybe we'll do a show sometime either on OYM or PIR, and we'll have a show based on the fact, the whole registration process and becoming a citizen and analysing it, because I've been kind of looking at that in depth and just throwing that about, so it'd be good to do that. The other thing I don't know whether you've seen it on the internet, Steve, somebody, obviously, water bill again, addressed to Mr. Braun, High King of Ireland, deceased Clontarf, Dublin 3.
No,
it was on Facebook, yeah.
It must be true, it was on Facebook.
Yeah. No, and there was another RIP one as well. It was actually Max Kaiser that said about the RIP Irish water bill. It's quite interesting. Now, the time banking information, I spoke to the company again during the week, and they were trying to get a pilot scheme for County Meath. And generally it's €120 for a time banking, because of the way the system is, has to be paid for and all that. But I suggested to the guy if we could do a pilot scheme over here using software. So he's gone away to ask the powers to be on his side, and then I'll give him a ring in a week or two and have a chat with him and see if we can get a pilot scheme up and running. If not, then what we need to do is get probably, say, 12 people or so to be champions of the time bank for County Meath, and then set it up and take it from there, and then we can do it on a per county basis. It's a massive project to take this on. It's not a 5-minute job. There's a lot of work involved in it, but it's going to benefit so many people if we do it. So leave it with me, and we'll see what we can do. I can only do my best, but he's going to see if we can do a pilot scheme anyway for free for County Meath. And the last thing on the list, I visited the National Land League Westmeath group last Wednesday, and had a great chat with them down there. Great hospitality, great people, and I hope to be getting down this Wednesday. I believe Finbar might be down there from National Land League doing some training, so I said I might pop down to the Westmeath branch and just sit in on the training. But a great group of people, again, getting together to help other people. That's what it's all about. Now, next week we have a lady on called Emily Craig, and her full name is actually Emily Elizabeth Windsor Craig, and there's a bit of a hint in that, because apparently she said that, the Edward and Mrs. Simpson, well, Edward was over in America in the 30s or 40s, and he had a little bit of hanky-panky with the nurse, and she was the end result. She has a bloodline from the royals, apparently. So we're going to be talking to Emily, not just about that, but obviously we're going to be talking about global stuff, energies, ETs, spiritual stuff. We're going to be talking about all that stuff, and what's changing, all the global changes and stuff. So it's a whole big genre of subjects that we're going to be talking about. So that's going to be interesting. Now, the other thing is, on the, again, we have to get the wording right in a lot of things, and people are saying peaceful protest. But in the European Convention of Human Rights, we have freedom of assembly and association, so we should be saying peaceful assembly as opposed to peaceful protest, because it says here, everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and to freedom of association with others, including the right to form and to join trade unions for the protection of his interests. So we have the freedom of peaceful assembly, not peaceful protest.
Yeah, but that's letting someone else dictate to us again what we can and cannot do.
Well,
I think we have a God-given or source creator-given right to do whatever the hell we like. Yeah. And if we want to peacefully protest, I think no one can stop us.
Yeah, I totally agree, but you try and tell that to the Gardaí and they'll just ignore you and they'll lock you up. So when
they'll hit you with the baton and pepper spray you.
That's it, So this has all got to do with playing their game. And if you use their wording in their game, then when it goes to, if and when it goes to court, if it does go to court, then you can say, well, I said to them I had the right to a peaceful assembly, and according to Article 11 in the European Convention of Human Rights, that says that I'm allowed to do it. And so, sorry, but, this is the way it is. And I think that overrules, European Convention of Human Rights overrules Constitution, maybe, I don't know. Maybe you have to talk to Vin on that. But there you go. So that's what the plan is. By the way, we did talk about air changes that are taking place, and I don't know whether you heard, but there's land has risen out in the sea in a place called Hokkaido, Japan.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, put me teeth in Japan, and it rose 50 feet It's over 1,000 feet long, and that was just overnight. So tectonic plate movements are taking place. There is massive changes taking place. Go over to the USGS, although they apparently have been caught changing figures. But you can see what's going on there, and the air tremors and the earthquakes going on. And there's been quite a lot of activity. So there's a lot happening at the moment, so we'll have to...
A lot happening. And for goodness sake, whatever you do, do not go to ECETI Talk Radio. Do not go to their website. Because if you do, you won't sleep tonight. And that's just because Alan's always talking about it. And I sometimes look at it, but he sent me a link during the week. And I did look at it. And it seems we're all screwed over here anyway, according to them.
Well,
if things kick off and the rivers do rise, and there is a big tsunami, from what they're saying over there, Ireland will be gone. Yeah, well,
they're saying that the levels, the ice melts, sun gets closer, the water levels go up.
Yeah.
But even if it goes up 500 feet, chances are that you still might be okay.
What if it goes up 600 feet?
Then we need to get the boat out.
So if anyone out there has an ark that they're not using, we would appreciate it here.
Yeah, if you want to plan to build an ark, let us know, and we'll see if we can get crowdfunding for the ark. I'll do something like that. We'd like to apologise for the internet issues. Over the last few weeks, we've been having, where Walton's Mountain is, we've been having a lot of power outages. Uncannily too many. In the last few weeks, we had so many than what we had in the last 7 years. So it's very, very strange where we're getting all these power outages. Again, I'm not going down the conspiracy route, but it just seems very strange. And hence why the internet access speed could be faulty, because they could be on a backup system. And we had a problem with it. So next week we might go to Studio 2 and try Studio 2 and see how we get on.
Better class of broadband down there, much quicker.
Yeah, and you also get a cup of tea down there as well.
And a biscuit.
And a biscuit. There you go. So anyway, for myself, we're going to pass off to Vin. Do you know who's on with Vin tonight?
No, I don't know who's on with Vin, but I do know that because of all the recent issues, Vin has just popped up there that he is going to do a server restart. So as soon as we switch over, there may be a disruption for about 60 seconds at the most. But I'm guessing when we switch over, Vin will probably tell you more about that anyway. But no, I don't know who's on with Vin. But I noticed Mick hasn't been in the chat room again. So again, if you're living in the Lucan area or you want more of the same, some of the same stuff that we speak about here on OYM, Mick at livysound.ie. He'll be on live from 9 to 10 p.m. GMT Monday evening. And there we go.
Okay, so for myself, Alan James, take it easy, stay safe. I'm in Trim Court tomorrow morning, that's the plan, and then the Westmeath National Land League on Wednesday evening. That's the plan. So take it easy, and we'll catch you again next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, stay tuned for Vin, and we'll catch you all again next week. Bye-bye.
Open your mind.